The man who is next in line to be Scottsbluff's next police chief has been sentenced to prison for stealing drugs and cash from the evidence room. KNEB.TV News starts right now.
From your trusted source for news in western Nebraska and eastern Wyoming, this is KNEB.TV News. Presented by Platte Valley Companies, premier provider of financial services.
Hello, I'm Ryan Murphy. This is KNEB.TV News, powered by Platte Valley Companies. Thanks for joining me. In our top story, former Scottsbluff Police Captain Brian Wasson was back in court this morning for sentencing after he had pleaded guilty to theft charges after stealing drugs and cash from the Scottsbluff Police Department evidence room. Defense attorney Martin Chalupka argued that her client has had chronic back pain since breaking his back while on a foot pursuit on the force in 2002 and battled the pain when trying to continue the duties of his job. She outlined that Wasson had been honest and forthright of all of his actions once he became clean and entered a 12-step program.
I'm asking this court to balance the understandable anger that Chief Spencer and his captains and his sergeant are feeling now with the feelings that were expressed by the 5 retired law enforcement officers who wrote letters expressing compassion, understanding, and support. Those retired officers have the same respect for the law as Chief Spencer and his captains. And maybe there's something about retirement that frees them to say what police know, that addiction happens to good and decent people.
Assistant Attorney General Michael Gwinnen argued on behalf of the state that Wasson abused his power to feed his addiction.
Now, while the thefts themselves did not put the Scottsbluff Police Department out of business, it didn't affect their bottom line. What it did affect is the trust. Not only the trust in the faith in the department with the community, but also the trust and faith within the department between ranks, and then ultimately, maybe most serious, within the command structure, within those who knew Brian.
Afterwards, Wasson addressed Judge Cindy Volkmer and apologized for his actions.
I was selfish. I exploited a trust that I was given by the community and my peers, supervisors, everybody. And I harmed all of them. And for that, I'm forever remorseful for that. This court has my assurance that I continue to work a program of recovery. I'm currently working the steps that have identified those I've harmed and will begin to make amends for those harms.
Ultimately, Judge Volkmer said that both sides presented good arguments and proceeded with the sentencing.
I find that there are substantial and compelling reasons for a period of incarceration, which include the fact that the defendant was not just a police officer in Scottsbluff, but he was a captain in the force. He was just below the chief and in a position of power and authority over his fellow officers. That Mr. Wasson interfered with at least 3 active cases due to his actions. That Mr. Wasson took evidence from other cases and provided it to his dealer, potentially putting the drugs back out on the street. And then the sheer amount of drugs and cash that were taken.
In total, Wasson was sentenced to 40 to 68 months in prison, plus $7,000 in restitution. In Gering, Ryan Murphy, KNEB.TV News.
Looking for free instead of fees? Platte Valley Bank can help you keep your finances moving forward with no ATM fees. Whether you're headed to the lake, the mountains, or just to the grocery store, you can enjoy the freedom of free ATM access anywhere, anytime. Platte Valley Bank. You belong here.
Welcome back. A Gering man is facing a variety of charges after a weekend traffic stop initiated by an illegal U-turn. A Scottsbluff police sergeant pulled over 27-year-old Dalton Slaneka Sunday afternoon after hearing screeching tires and made contact with him in a parking lot on Avenue A. Court documents say that Slaneka smelled of alcohol. There were open containers in the vehicle. He was stumbling and had defecated himself. He was then taken to the hospital for a blood draw and proceeded to kick a nurse. He's being held on a $45,000 bond as he faces charges of DUI, assault on a healthcare professional, and refusal to submit. He made his first appearance on the charge yesterday in Scottsbluff County Court. Well, a campaign appearance by Senator Pete Ricketts, originally scheduled for this afternoon, has been postponed. Ricketts was to appear at an ice cream social at the Legacy of the Plains Museum. However, senators were recalled to Washington, D.C. to vote on the legislation passed by the House that provides aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, but no money for increasing security at the U.S.-Mexico border. There is no word on if or when the campaign stop will be rescheduled. And Gering Public Schools has announced that Wendy Powell will be the new principal of Northfield Elementary for the coming school year. She is a Gering High School graduate and has been assistant principal at Longfellow Elementary in Scottsbluff since 2019. GPS officials say with an extensive background in education and a commitment to student success, Powell brings a wealth of experience to her new role. Powell said she's honored to have been selected and looks forward to partnering with families to provide the very best educational experience for their children.
Life is crazy. Pain is stressful. How can anybody concentrate with these busy schedules? Now you can. This is Ben Moravec coming to you from Hydrozen, a float therapy business right here in Scottsbluff. I'm here today to let you know we now have memberships for $49 monthly. You can guarantee yourself at least one float per month. You know how floating keeps your muscles relaxed, your joints relieved, and your brain clear to think? Now you can float at a reduced rate each month. Inquire today at hydrozenfloat.com or call us at 308-63-FLOAT. Hydrozen. Unplug and recharge.
It takes a community to keep our waters clean. Please don't let pollutants be swept and carried away into our storm drains. This can cause problems like clogged storm sewers and contaminating the area's rivers, lakes, and ponds. Non-point source pollutants are not from one source or property, but instead from many sources and properties, which can impair our waterways. Even one piece of trash can add up. Tri-City Stormwater wants you to remember, it's our water, our responsibility.
This is KNEB.TV Ag News from the Scottsbluff Body and Paint Ag Desk. Scottsbluff Body and Paint, you're driving home our reputation.
Soybean growers in Nebraska and across the U.S. recently have been navigating the complexities of weed management in dicamba-tolerant soybeans, as last month the federal court in Arizona vacated registration of XtendiMax, Ingenia, and Tavium. The ruling will put some growers of soybeans in a management challenge, recognizing that not all acres of dicamba-tolerant soybeans will be equally affected. This nuanced situation reflects the U.S. EPA's provision, allowing the use of extending dicamba stocks under specific conditions, meaning that the impact of the ruling will vary depending on a grower's current inventory and the timing of those purchases. Earlier this week, Market Journal host Bryce Duskett sat down with Nebraska Extension Weed Management Specialist Amit Jalla to learn more about the implications of this ruling for Nebraska soybean producers.
Joining us today on Crop Talk is Amit Jalla. He is a University of Nebraska Lincoln Extension Weed Management Specialist. Amit, we appreciate you joining us. We have some news to talk about on the dicamba front. This is going to have an impact for Nebraska soybean producers. Talk about where we stand today.
That is true. There have been some changes on use of dicamba-based products. That includes 3 products which are labeled in dicamba-resistant soybean, Ingenia, Tavium, and XtendiMax. So early February this year, federal government, federal court in Arizona, they vacated the registration of these 3 products, and so now growers needs to consider some other options if they do not have already purchased them.
Well, let's talk about those options. If I'm a Nebraska soybean grower planning to plant soybeans resistant to dicamba this year, what are the things I need to be considering right now?
So number one, if you have already purchased any of those three products, you can use them pre-emergence or post-emergence up to the certain growth stage. And you also need to remember, like, the end of June deadline is still there. So regardless if you use in a normal year or this year, you cannot spray any of those three dicamba-based products after June 30th in Nebraska. Some other states has different deadline, but for Nebraska, I would recommend to make sure they do not spray after June 30th. And if you do not have any of those dicamba-based products, you can also use some other herbicides. For example, glufosinate-based herbicides can be applied post-emergence for controlling existing weeds. And there are also some other PPO-inhibiting herbicides that can be applied. So I would not be panic too much if I don't have dicamba, because we have been controlling weeds without dicamba before this dicamba-resistant soybean came to the market.
A couple of follow-up questions based on what you're saying. First, you bring up that June 30th deadline and mention that is a Nebraska-specific deadline. Why do we have that in place? Just some background information for the audience today.
It is because just to reduce the off-target dicamba injury issues. So each state has different deadline, and in Nebraska, this is what written on the label. Some states, they have some early deadlines. This is just to avoid some late season dicamba off-target injury issues, because we have done some studies and it says when sensitive soybean can get any off-target injury, there are more chances of more loss in your soybean growth and development if this dicamba injury can hit after flowering stage. So some other states has some early deadline for applying those three dicamba-based products, but in Nebraska we have June 30th deadline.
Because of those deadlines, it's been a bit of a controversial product across the ag industry. Dicamba has been over its short lifespan here, but what's made dicamba effective for soybean growers but also cotton growers in the South?
It can provide pretty good control of broadleaf weeds, and I would say sensitive broadleaf weeds, because there are some cases of dicamba resistant water hemp and dicamba resistant palmer amaranth in other states. Every year we are testing, collecting seeds from Nebraska fields where there was a control failure of applying dicamba on controlling them. So we have been testing, but so far we have not confirmed, but it is just a matter of time, I would say. So that's why, again, I would like to mention that growers should not consider dicamba as the only option for controlling herbicide resistant weeds, because it is just a matter of time when we will see dicamba resistant weeds in Nebraska.
We'll certainly see what plays out at the federal level. You mentioned the EPA is involved here, courts as well, so there'll be more news on that front. There's a management guide for controlling weeds in the state. I want to make that kind of our drive home message for the audience today. They can go there for more information, correct?
Yes, we already have that guide available online to purchase. It's a 2024 guide for weed disease and insect management, and we have all the information that growers can consider, because the first message I would give is you can use any pre-emergence herbicide in all type of soybean. So that's the good thing about pre-emergence herbicide is it's not trait specific. As long as the product is labeled in soybean, you can use in any type of soybean. So my first recommendation will be just to start with a pre-emergence herbicide that can be applied at planting soybean, that should have multiple herbicide mode of action, so that can provide a pretty good initial control of weeds. And then even there are some pre-emergence residual herbicides you can apply post-emergence. For example, acetochlor-based herbicides you can apply post-emergence, pyroxasulfone-based herbicide you can apply post-emergence. So they will not control existing weeds, but they can provide some overlapping residual activity in the field. So if growers have a lot of issue of herbicide-resistant water hemp and palmer amaranth, using this overlapping residual activity of products will be really useful. And one more message I can give to the growers is we are organizing Nebraska Extension Weed Management Field Day on June 26th at South Central Ag Lab near Clay Center. So this is the field day where we provide all the updates and new technology and new herbicides and everything basically for weed management in corn and soybean and sorghum and also in popcorn. It's free to attend, and you can register online at agronomy.unl.edu/field days.
The wait is over. Ensemble entry doors exclusively from Renewal by Andersen have arrived with an incredible offer. Secure, timeless style, elegant features, customized countless ways with the legendary quality of Renewal by Andersen. Right now, you get 20% off every Ensemble entry door, no money down, no interest, and no payments for 12 months, no payments for a year. Please scan the QR code on your screen or visit rbawyoming.com now to book your free estimate. Ensemble entry doors, the wait is over.
Welcome to Kelly's Liquor, your liquor cabinet. Whether you're a wine enthusiast, a whiskey sommelier, a tequila connoisseur, or you just love your beer, Kelly's has the best selection of what you're looking for. Family owned and operated since 1946 and right on 27th Street in Scottsbluff. Come see us today at Kelly's Liquor, your liquor cabinet. And remember to be a good neighbor. Don't drink and drive. Kelly's Liquor, West 27th Street in Scottsbluff.
The community calendar is brought to you by Riverstone Bank. We're local and we love our community.
Better sleep and better health can be found at Western Sleep Medicine in Gering. Since 2006, Western Sleep Medicine has offered the lowest cost sleep testing either in their independent sleep laboratory or the privacy of your own home. You have control over your health care and your out-of-pocket cost. All insurance is accepted for a much lower cost than the regional option. If you need a sleep study, ask for Western Sleep Medicine. They've helped thousands of people over the years and want to help you. Western Sleep Medicine. Better sleep, better health.
Tired of feeling stuck? Not sure if you are on the right track? Platte Valley Bank can help keep your finances moving forward with checking account options to fit your lifestyle and an online account chooser to make finding the right account easy. Control your financial future with helpful budgeting tools and automatic savings plans. Now is the time to enjoy the ride with Platte Valley Bank. You belong here.
And finally tonight, the Scottsbluff City Council has approved another year of funding to help the Valley play host to the USA Cycling Gravel National Championship. Earlier this month, Aaron Rains approached the council with a $15,000 request. He said that following 2023's inaugural event, there should be a lot more fanfare for 2024.
So last year we were really focused on just getting it off the ground. I was focused on routes, I was focused on, all the operations and that kind of stuff. This year, with all that stuff sort of in place, not a lot of it's changing. We're more focused on community involvement, bringing in the youth, that kind of thing out to the race, and like that. More community involvement.
These funds would be earmarked for lodging for USA Cycling staff members, but Rains noted that the tax revenue collected from this year's event will go right back into the city's coffers. This year's race and surrounding festivities will run from September 6th through the 8th in Gering. Well, that does it for us this time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay safe out there. We'll see you here next time.